Aloha once again, friends and family. How long do you suppose someone would have to reside in the garden before they came to realize that nothing in the illusion has any power to dictate anything in their life? A week, a month, a year? 5 minutes? And karma would probably play a factor in how long that took. But there are so many people out there still wrapped up in the illusions. So wrapped up in the illusions that they either forgot, well, they did forget, because I know that we used to all know this. So they're so wrapped up in the illusion they have forgotten that everything out there in the external is an effect. And you don't change the effects by wrestling with other effects. You don't change effects with effects. Although many try. And you might make some kind of dent in the situation, but who wants to make a dent if you have to move a mountain? A dent is not very much. When all you had to do was remember that every effect finds its cause in mind. So by the time it's in the illusion or happening, you already manifested it through your mind. And so it's just a case of blind people attempting to have a quality experience in and among other blind people, and none of them can come to agreement on anything because none of them can see anything, none of them know what any of the other ones are talking about, and it's just a cluster F. And if a person with sight goes up to one of these blind people and attempts to help them, they assume you're blind like they are, and they respond to you like you're in the same nightmare that they're in. Not realizing that, man, if you could get 5 minutes in the garden, your sight would begin to come back. If you could spend a day or a week in the garden, your sight would be restored. And you would never, ever again wrestle with effects that found their causes in your mind. And I fully agree with Love, Hope, and Sunshine. I think that's your name. I get it close. But I'm in full agreement with her that the last thing we need is another rabbit hole to go down. I mean, there's just so many channels out there and people, and they thrive on this whole rabbit hole mentality where you're always just about to discover something, or you think that you're just about to discover something, or you finally going to get an answer, or what about those aliens, or check out this UFO video. And I'm not saying things can't manifest that are beyond the norm. But see, our mind, again, it's our mind. Our mind gets a hold of something, ushers us down a rabbit hole, and you don't come away from that feeling like you have clarity. You don't come away from that feeling like you have answers. You don't come away from that feeling empowered. You come away from that with 100 new questions. And then those weigh upon the mind. And then you are inadvertently now creating yet more effects. And you will look at those effects in confusion and say, I don't understand this. I don't understand all these things manifesting in my life or around me or in my world. Still in that state of disconnection, of realization, every effect finds its cause in your mind. When you get your mind into agreement that heaven can be manifest on earth through the great I am power of the God within all of us, you'll drop the rabbit holes like a hotcake. You will stop being confused by everything you're seeing outside of yourself. You will stop focusing on what other humans are doing in the lower astral plane, because they have not made the connection either. And so it would be like if you were in a a master art class, and there were some amazing paintings and artworks happening, but you're walking around and all you're finding is finger painters and slop and junk, and you're wondering, man, is this art class any good? Does anybody actually learn how to paint in this class? Because your focus will only allow you to see very abstract, rough finger paintings. But if and when you shift your consciousness into that I am power of the God that is within us all, suddenly you'll see that painting for what it really looks like, because the distortion will be removed from your sight, and the clarity of the images will come in, and the beauty and the harmony and the symmetry and the balance will automatically be there. And you will be dumbfounded that you did not see this. You will be amazed. And you will go back to your own painting where you thought you were struggling as a finger painter yourself. And you will see what you had manifested through the I am power of the God within us all. And you will realize you had begun a very beautiful work that you will now continue with zeal and energy and power and wonder and enthusiasm. And it will simultaneously dawn upon you that you must have stopped judging yourself and other, because self and other are one. And when you judged other, you judged self. And when you judged self, you judged other. And in this oneness, you came to remember that you always were in the garden. You always were in God's garden of abundance that has supplied your every need even up unto this very moment. Possibly unbeknownst to you. That the love, unity, and light that we wish to manifest never stopped being manifested by those that manifest it continually. And every ascended master that has moved on from this lower astral plane is still very much involved, very much a part of the overseeing of this amazing, wonderful garden. And they are calling the masters that are here to awaken and ascend and begin to send out these vibrations of ascension. Because now you are beyond the point where you no longer doubt that. You no longer doubt that you have the ability to ascend anytime you want to. And since it is a process, you must begin. And you can begin anytime you want to. And there is a great body of us that have already embraced it, and we are moving into ascension. And as we ascend, we're sending out the vibrations, we're sending out the communications, we're shining bright rays of light out into that dark illusion that we know of as the lower astral plane, where all the NPCs have gathered to work out that final bit within themselves that keeps them toiling and fighting and judging and living in misery and blaming and dying and doing it all over again. So the harvest is all of those, which is all of us, that currently, presently find ourselves in the lower astral plane, The harvest is the ascension. Come out of her, my people, so that you do not share in her sins. To quote a passage from Revelation. And when God says, my people, he means everybody. He's not talking to any glorified, self-glorified group of people that think they've got some kind of lock on God, when all they have is they've got a lock on an idol. And they are so blinded and lost in that idolatry with that idol, somehow they forgot that all people are God's people. There is no people that is not God's people. It is impossible to be a people and not be God's people, because again, there is no separation in reality. There is only separation in illusion. So today's admonishment would simply be, avoid the rabbit holes. A lot of people call that research. Research is simply diving deep into rabbit holes for pieces of knowledge. But what good are those pieces of knowledge if you can't put them together into the big picture and then see and know and understand the big picture? I mean, perhaps that's your path. If it is, I wish you well upon it. But I Am is here to remind us you can bypass every hole, because isn't a hole a sinkhole? It's an old joke. But isn't every hole a sinkhole? So isn't a rabbit hole just a deeper sinkhole? And what business do we have down in some deep sinkhole? We're up here on the surface. We're in ascension. We're rising above holes. We're not going into holes. And see, it's that very act of rising and ascending and expanding your consciousness to where you get this greater view of the whole thing, not the whole thing, the whole creation. Okay, you're not going to find out the secret to the whole of creation in a rabbit hole. You might spend, a year there and get a piece, one single piece that goes into a 5 quadrillion piece puzzle. So you're going to have to find a better way, or it's going to take your whole life just to make the border of the puzzle, of the image, of the whole. Right? And we don't, again, we've moved into the timeless, so we're not bound by time, and we're not messing with time. We don't have to get bogged down in time to see the entirety. And you're going to see the entirety through this expansion of consciousness, not by mentally going into holes, dark places, deep dives, as they call them. And again, I'm not casting any judgment on anything. Whatever you feel to do, do it. But be led by I Am. And I Am is generally not residing in holes. I Am is soaring above and seeing everything and understanding all that it sees. And in that understanding, there is no judgment, because everyone is creating their reality. And the NPCs spend all of their time in the effects, unwilling to entertain the truth, the cosmic truth, that all those effects are causes of your very own mind. You created them. And if you created them, you can uncreate them. And we leave you in the love and the light of the infinite Creator. Until next time.